In this lecture, we're going to see how to overload unary operators. And the unary operator is an operator that only takes a single operand. And one such example is the plus plus operator in prefix mode. So suppose we have a point object like we see here in our slide, and we want to use the plus plus operator on this point object here. And what we have to get is to increment each coordinate. For example, if we do plus plus, we want to get point to be 11, 11. If we do plus plus again, we want it to be 12, 12, and something like that. So we want this operator. This is how you can do the plus plus operator. You say void the return type. If you want, you can really return something here, but we're not going to do that because it's meaningless for our type here. And then we're going to say operator plus plus. We're going to put a parameter list. We're going to put a pair of curly braces, and inside we're going to do whatever we need to do in our operator. So if we do our setup like this, the code we have in front here is going to work, and we're going to get our incrementation to work for our point object. This is a member implementation of this unary operator, but you can also do it as a freestanding non-member global function, and that's going to work as well. But your function is going to have one parameter, which is going to be the operand to this plus plus operator. And we're going to see that in a minute when we hit Visual Studio Code. Now that you know this, we're going to head over to Visual Studio Code and play with this a little more. Okay, so here we are in our working folder. The current project is Unary Prefix Increment Operator. It's going to be done as a member. And we're going to grab our template files. We're going to put them in place, and we're going to do something like this. We're going to paste this in here. We are going to steal that from this lecture here, custom type conversions. We're going to grab our point class. And we're going to go up again and go in our current lecture and put this in. I think this is going to do. And we can now open this in Visual Studio Code by dragging and dropping here. Okay, so this is in place. And the main CPP file is going to have some clutter that we don't want. So we're going to take this out. And we're going to go to our point class. And I think we should really take out all these operators, because they are going to be confusing us, stealing attention from what we really want to do in this lecture here. So we're going to take out all the other arithmetic operators, and we're going to leave in the stream output operator, because we're going to be using this to print stuff to the console. And we don't need the printable function because it's really doing the same thing as our stream output operator, and we're going to leave our class like this. And let's go to the CPP file and see what do we have here. We are including number, which we don't need at this point. We don't need the custom type conversion from number to point now. And I think now this is legit. It is a good class. It is working as we expect. We can head over to the main CPP file and include the point class. And we can create a point object and print that out. So we're going to say point P1. We're going to put in 10 and 10, for example. And we can print this out using the line here. We're going to say P1, not N1. And we're going to put this out. And this is going to work. We can build and run this. And we're going to bring up a PowerShell window that we can use. And we're going to run Rooster. This is going to print our point here. Now, we want to implement the plus plus operator, and it is a unary operator because it only takes one operand. It is going to be working on. Let's take out the constructor that takes a number n. We don't need that. And we're going to do our operator. We're going to do it as a member in this lecture, and in a later lecture we're going to see how we can do it as a non-member freestanding global function. The function is not going to return anything as we saw in the slides. The name is going to be operator plus plus, and it's going to be working on this object here because it's done as a member function. So it's not going to be taking in any parameter. We're not going to mark it as a const because it's going to be modifying the member variables here. Remember, it's going to increment them. So we're going to just hop over in the body and say mx plus plus. We're going to do prefix incrementation. So we're going to say plus plus mx, and we're going to say plus plus my, and this is going to work. If we marked this guy as const, we wouldn't be able to do that If we did that, we would get squiggly lines here because we're not allowed to modify this object in any way. And here we are modifying the member variable, so this is going to give you a compiler error. We don't want this to be cast. Once we have this operator n, we will be able to use it in the main CPP file. For example, we can say ++p1, and this is going to be valid syntax. And if we print p1 now, we are going to get a value of 11 printed out. So we're going to say p1, and we're going to say stdendl here. And this is going to work. We're going to run the test build with GCC. The build is going to be cool. You see that the operator is kicking in and working just as we expect. If we run Rooster, we're going to get 11. We can even do this in a loop. So let's do something like this. We're going to do for size t I, and we're going to be starting from 0. We're going to be doing this as long as I is less than 20. Why not? And we're going to do our incrementation, and we're going to hop over in the body and do our incrementation on P1, and then we're going to print that out. We're going to copy the line here and put that in the body of our loop, and we're going to try and build and run this. We're going to use GCC for the build. The build is good, and we expect this to increment this 20 times. So it's going to go from 11. Remember, we incremented this at 11, and it's going to say 12, 13, 14 until we do this 20 times. Let's run this and see what we get on our console. And this is going to do what we want. We're going to be doing this from 11 all the way to 31, and the total is going to be 20 times because we have looped 20 times in our loop here. This is really all I wanted you to see in this lecture, that you can overload the unary operator here. Again, it is a unary operator because it is taking only one operand. If you look in the main CPP file, the ++ operator is working on one operand. P1 is one operand it is working on. We don't have two operands like we did for the binary operators. And the object we're going to be working on in this operator here in this lecture is going to be the one implementing this operator function here. And one thing I haven't shown you is that behind the scenes, the compiler is going to call that operator as it is. So for example here, what this is going to do is something like this. We can comment out the line 7 and say stdc out p1. And to drive this home, we can comment out the code we have on line 9 and do it as the compiler is going to do this. So what the compiler is going to do here is say p1, and it's going to call the operator ++, and it's not going to put anything in. So this is going to give us the same results. If we run the application, we're going to see this incremented from 10 to 11, and we're going to see that printed out here. And then we're going to be doing all the other incrementations here from 11 all the way to 31, I guess. This is what we saw in the terminal window here. So we're going to build and see this working in action. And the build is good. We can clear and run Rooster, and we're going to see that we're going to increment from 10 to 11, and the code that does that from 10 to 11 is what we have on line 10 here. And this is really cool. This is really all I had to share in this lecture. Hope you found it interesting. We are going to stop here in this one. In the next one, we're going to see how we can do the ++ operator as a freestanding non-member global function, and that's going to be really cool. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me there.